Hi friends, the Bengal Rowing Club welcomes all of you to the second episode of Candid Conversations. Our host for the day is again Sri Shivendra Singh Dungarpur. Welcome Shivendra.
Thank you very much.
Shivendra is an award-winning filmmaker. Hi Shivendra, how are you? So Shivendra is an award-winning filmmaker, producer, film archivist and restorer. He established the Dungarpur Films in 2001, and under the banner of Dungarpur Films, he has directed and produced over 800 commercials, as well as television series, documentaries, and short films. He is deeply committed to the cause of saving India's audiovisual heritage, and we are grateful to Shivendra. He was here with us a couple of days back also, hosting another event, and we are welcome him to this platform at the Bengal Rowing Club. Welcome, Shivendra.
Thank you.
And our celebrity guest today is a man who has been everything: a waiter, a photographer, a wafer seller, an actor par excellence, a voice artist, and now he's also a producer and screenwriter. But above all, he's a wonderful person. Presenting Boman Irani, a personality who has been an inspiration for many. His journey from struggling with dyslexia and battling a strong lisp to becoming a confident performer in front of millions. Ladies and gentlemen, Sri Boman Irani.
Hi,
Welcome,
everyone.
Shivendra, to the Bengal Rowing Club. It's great to have you both here, even though on a virtual platform, and we look forward to the day, Boman and Shivendra, when we can host you physically on the lawns of the Bengal Rowing Club. Do give us an opportunity soon. So we have a small video prepared for this event. Can we have the video, please?
अंकल जी किशन खुराना के खोसला कैसे आप
उनसे बर्दाश्त नहीं होता था। टाइम बचाने के लिए शर्ट पे बटन नहीं वेलक्रो लगाते थे और टाई में हुक।
राहुल राजेश रोहन राज रो रहा है। अरे निशा जी
दिल पे तेरे दस्तक दी है, अरे दरवाजा खोलना मामू।
यस
तेरे लिए लाया।
मेरे लिए
वो क्या है, आज ना अपन दिल से तेरे को सॉरी बोलने को मांगता है।
Himanshu Shukla, Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister.
So this is not a job interview?
No, of course not. ऐसा क्या था उस लॉबी में?
I object. Here we go again. कितनी बार समझाना पड़ेगा कि विदाउट एडवांस नोटिस आप विटनेस को नहीं बुला सकते।
जनाब, मैं जानता हूं कि मैं उसे अचानक बुला रहा हूं, लेकिन प्लीज अगर मैं ऐसा नहीं करता तो वो शायद कोर्ट तक पहुंचता ही नहीं।
Another story.
Yeah.
So those are lovely scenes from Boman's films. A big round of applause. So Shivendra, it's all yours now.
Yep. So Boman, thank you for doing this, and lovely to have you on this talk. But let me get straight into. Lots of people have lots of questions, but let me ask you a straight question.
Sure.
It ended with the Happy New Year, the clip. Were you ever chased in the Parsi colony by a Parsi woman, like the scene of Happy New Year?
No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, maybe chased if I was making too much of a racket, but no. Sorry to disappoint you. Shivendra, no. The answer is no. I can't even elaborate on that.
So you've had a long journey. How did you get into films? I mean, how did the film part come about it?
It was 44 years in the planning, actually. I think the film part came about from the day I was born. I think there was a part of me that wanted to be, behind the camera, in front of the camera. And as they say, when you write a script, every character has a want. kuch he needs, he wants to do something. And this probably was a want which only took a little longer time than normal. And I think that, it's not it may be even a scientific explanation that when you want something, you gravitate towards it, and that something gravitates towards you. And it's also said that the greater the want, the higher will be the obstacle. Because if it's an easy one, then the obstacles are easier. And if the obstacles are easier, then it's not a life worth talking about. It's not a life which has joy, because chasing that want is actually chasing your happiness. And while chasing your happiness, there's a lot of pain. It's a funny dichotomy, in what I'm saying. But that's the truth. The happier you are is when you're more miserable chasing what you want out of life. It's a strange little contradiction of words, Shivi.
Yeah, now people sort of look at you from the point of view of great comedy stuff, something which is so spontaneous. A lot of people do not know that you've done varied kinds of roles. And, the comedy is what the commercial industry,
Right.
With the spontaneity and humor. How much of this humor or spontaneity has come from your personal experiences, or how do you build that up? How do you suddenly, get that?
I think that coming from a community of Parsis, I think there is a way of kind of looking at yourself with a funny eyeglass, and I think that's one blessing, to be born in a community which people love, has a zest for life, and we're willing to laugh at each other for our quirks and our idiosyncrasies, if you know what I'm saying. But I've got a little story about my mother, and when I was born. So the night that I was taken to the hospital was the hugely dramatic and comedic night. So my mom is a very large lady. She's a very large lady. And the doctor, there were complications with my birth. Real huge complications, because 2-3 months before I was born, she was losing me. And somehow, she held it together. And now is the day that I'm going to be born, the night rather. So she calls up her doctor, and says, get to the hospital, but make sure you don't go up those steps. Make sure you go on a stretcher. It's risky. I'm warning you, Mrs. Irani. She says, okay. So she's with my neighbor, her neighbor friend, an aunt. And the two of them are going, and she's telling her, you better get onto that stretcher. She said, no way. Look at my size. And they'll surely send two, sukka pukka ward boys. I'll have nothing of that. Anyway, the doctor had warned the ward boys that my mother is going to give them hell. So if she makes any fuss, force her onto that stretcher and take her up the steps on the stretcher. So they land at the hospital. All right. And the ward boys come to the window, and they knock on the window and said, patient kaun hai? So my mother, she points at the neighbor auntie. Whoa. And she says, bahut ziddi hai, jao. So they go, and the neighbor auntie saying, nahi. Saying, hey, doctor bola, auntie, doctor bola, tum bahut natak karega. Chalo. And they grabbed her and put her on the stretcher, while my mom ran up the steps against the doctor's orders and went and delivered me within 10 minutes after that. So I'm born a comedy, I'm born out of a comedy, and comedy comes out of the most serious situations most of the time, Shivi. I was just talking to somebody about what's the best form of comedy. Comedy comes out of someone's problems. If there are no problems, there's no comedy. There's no happiness in the characters. It's always trouble for the characters. And that's the trouble with the characters have to swim through is what the audience finds funny. So I was born a comedy.
Yeah. So how much was, if you look at Munna Bhai, or you look at Three Idiots, or you look at your Houseful series, how much of it is scripted, because there's a lot of spontaneity which you require when you have to perform this?
There are two things, Shivi. One is, I like a tight script, but if the script is in place and then you improvise, that's good. But if the script is not in place and then you improvise, then there's chaos. So you can only improvise if there's a tight script. You have to have a nice Dunlop pillow script to bounce on. If it's made of stones, You try to jump on it, everyone's going to get hurt. So a lot of Munna Bhai, we can improvise, but the credit goes to the writing first. Then you can improvise. Even in the comedy of, whatever. I think there has to be a bedrock. You cannot go onto a set and say, "Chalo, hum comedy karte aaj." It doesn't work like that. Because in the scripting, you have to establish the pain of the character. Always, you see all the characters that you find funny are in pain. I don't know why people enjoy seeing people in pain. Munna Bhai, the shot that we saw just now, he's petrified. He's petrified. He's scared he's going to hit him. He's a bhai. So you're seeing him in pain, in fear. And he's scared, and then he's getting bolder and bolder and bolder till he tells her that I'm in love with your daughter only. And then everyone goes crazy, right? But it comes from pain. So yeah. I'd like to believe that though I like to improvise, I'll never improvise when the script is not in shape. There has to be shape to a script.
Yeah, but is there any incident which you remember where you think you've taken the script or have taken a film to, that scene to a particular level or changed it or?
Well, I think it's important to stay within what the story wants to say. You can improvise. But if it's taking the story somewhere else, then that's very selfish because it means that only you want to shine. It should stick to what the story is wanting to say. And you can take the scene wherever you want if the director... Like there was this scene in Munna Bhai BBS. I improvised it, but in rehearsal. Only the day before yesterday where Raju was talking to all our screenwriting students, And that whole thing about, if my hand is steady and if I operate on my daughter, my hand will start shaking. So I could never operate on my daughter because I don't want to get close to my patients. And that was done in rehearsal. That came out in rehearsal because you're living within the heart of the character. And if you just improvise that on the day of the shoot, it can happen, but one line can come out here or there, not the concept of it. So you can improvise a line, but not the concept. I think there was a scene in Munna Bhai when the ward boy comes in the pre-interval moment and he says, "Arey, wo Munna bed leke arela," or something like that. That very typical thing. Bed leke arela or something. So I just took off on that because I'm angry, right? It comes from pain. What do you mean arela? Hindi mein barabar dhang se baat karo, Hindi mein. It comes from pain. It comes from fear. What do you mean arela? Arela, what are you talking like that? Jao usko bolo. Main uski vaat laga dunga. That was improvised. Main uski vaat laga dunga. And that was improvised. But it comes from a very solidly designed character. And that's the writer. That's Raju. The improvisation will only improve upon that. You cannot improvise the whole goddamn thing. You can't. That's not right.
Yeah. So if you look at Munna Bhai or Three Idiots, Dawn, Probably LLB, Houseful series, which is what, how do you, is there a personal favorite of yours or and if it is, why?
I think Ghosla is my all-time favorite.
Right.
And I'll tell you why, because it came out of my fear and pain, personal fear and pain. And that was the fact that I had never done a film up until then of a character that lived outside of Mumbai. And this character lived in Delhi. Now, within Mumbai, I knew characters and I can observe and I can sponge off people. I had never been to Delhi more than twice in my whole life. And here I'm playing a character who I've never seen. So I'm only hearing these dialogues, which I'm finding very, very different. And I went to Delhi and I said no for the film because I said I'll do injustice. I'll do injustice because I'll not get it right. I need a lot of time. Allow me time. And I went into Delhi to do research and I went around with a tape recorder and I was recording all these guys and, I'm saying these are fascinating people. Though there were 2-3 Delhi actors who told me, we're very upset that you're cast in this film. I said, I'm really sorry. Saying we also auditioned for it. I'm so sorry. I said, so I'm really sorry about it. He said, how would you feel if there is a Parsi character and I get the role and you don't. I said, you got a point, but I didn't take offense. What I did was I made friends with those guys and I said, okay, whatever research you've done, teach me. Now, I've got the role now. What do you want me to do? And that became a bit of a challenge for me. I said, I've got to challenge myself to make sure that if I'm stepping outside my comfort zone of Bombay, I might as well do justice for a character that is so unlike me. I'm Parsi, my Punjabi Hindi is not great. I'll have to learn the dialect. I'll have to learn the whole it's not just the dialogue and the physicality. I think it's the mentality.
Yeah.
If you get the mentality right, then everything falls into place. If you get the dialogue, the speech and the physicality right, you've got the externals right. But if you get the mentality right, then there's a sense of authenticity. So I worked a lot on it, and I was really, really, really nervous when it came out. But I enjoyed that very, very much because he was a deliciously mean character. He was very deliciously mean, and I enjoyed playing that character very much.
Yeah, no, it's one of the really brilliant films. I think I really love that film. Each and every character in that film, whether Anupam played or the other character, it was incredible. Boman, what about your gay role in Dostana?
Well, it was delicious again. It was great fun. I did a little bit of improvisation in that also. But again, you have to have the scene should be in place. The character should be in place. I may have improvised a little bit here and there. By and large, the director and the writer had it all in place. The one thing that I improvised was that the thing when he walks into the house and hands over the little thing to Priyanka Chopra and said, "It's a candle." I don't know why I find it funny. It's a candle, and I don't know what's so funny about that. But I think it's so typical, it's so typical of a guy saying, "Theek hai na, don't make a fuss about it. It's a candle. Don't be excited. Oh, how sweet. Candle hai. Zyada mat bol." Basically, every line should have a subtext to it. If it's just a line on the face of it, it's not as fun as saying that, what did he mean by saying that? I know it's sounding like an acting workshop. Sorry about this, guys. But since Shivi is asking me these questions, I'm going for it. It was great fun doing Dostana. And Abhishek is so fabulous. He's such a wonderful actor.
Yeah. Now, if you look at the kind of roles you've done, there must have been a lot of inspiration from. Do you take a lot of inspiration from other actors, or is there people whom you admired deeply before? Or whether it's Mahmood or whether it's is there? I mean, you've got your own sort of brand, which is everybody knows Boman is like this. But wanted to know if there's any inspiration you've had.
Shivi, I think I think it's very important to be inspired by greatness and by people who aren't so well known. Greatness has got nothing to do with fame. And I pick up something or the other somewhere. But my all-time favorite was Balraj Sahni. My all-time favorite. And of course, you wonderful people from Kolkata will remember one of his first breakthrough things was Do Biga Zameen. And I used to read a lot about him as a youngster, and I used to find it fascinating how that man, he was a lawyer and he was suited and he was booted and he went to meet Bimal Da, and Rishida took him to meet Bimal Da and he was suited and beaten. Bimal Da got angry and said, "Who have you brought to me? What is this guy? I mean, he's powdered his face. This guy is a farmer and he's going to be a rickshaw, a puller. What is this?" And the man did not take offense to that. He went back and he undid everything and he came in a kurta and all. He said, "Okay, better, but still not good enough." He says, "Okay, give me some time." He goes to Kolkata. He picks up a rickshaw and he yanks it all over the town for God knows how long. And his son, when I spoke to his son, I get tears in my eyes when I think about it. His son said, "I used to sit in the rickshaw with my mom and my sister, and he used to yank us all around Kolkata till his feet cracked, till the webbing of his feet cracked." And I feel, I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about it, which means that's his want. He wanted that role so badly, so he was willing to get out of his comfort zone. He was wearing a flannel suit when he went for the first time. Bimal said, "This is the guy." I can see the cracks on his face. I can see his face that's sunburnt. And that's the price you're willing to pay. And I'm saying, who are we? What are we sitting and when discussing, there's do it. First do it and then talk about it. So Balraj Sahni, and you won't believe it, Shiri, I think you know me well enough that I'm very awkward with praise. You realize I go a little, yeah, I am. But I can proudly, I'll say this once, and I'll say this once. When Three Idiots was released, I was in with my family, my entire family, mom and in-laws and everyone, taking everybody for a holiday to Thailand. I get a call from Parikshit Sahni, and he was kind of sobbing on the phone, I said, Boman, I want to tell you something. I said, yes, Parikshit. Say, my daughter, please, I apologize for saying this. Please don't feel I'm being a, self promotion is not my game. He said, I want to say something to you. So my daughter sent me a message. I'm sending it to you and I'm calling you back. So he sent me the message, and his daughter, who was in Singapore, saw the movie and said, finally, someone who reminded me of Dadaji. And I said, this can't be. This can't be. It's simply because I was saying something. When you love something, you gravitate towards it. I said it before we started the first conversation. Those very things will gravitate towards you. And if that's your want in life, believe me, you will gravitate towards it. And believe me, that mountain will gravitate towards you. I'm nowhere compared to Mr. Sahni. Nowhere. But the point is, somewhat made me feel special with that name. And to me, it was an inspiration to do even better and more responsible, made me more responsible to do nothing else. It's not saying that, where's Balraj Sahni, man? Do because, Kabli wala, come on. Even Waqt, the way he performed that, standing outside the Katera, listening to, he doesn't know this is his son and that's his son talking there. The way he's just listening is a masterclass of acting. Acting is listening. And he's listening and you say, my God, look at that man. He's standing in the scene. He doesn't have a dialogue. He's only listening. But see the involvement and see the innocence on the face. I'm a big fan of Balraj Sahni. Huge fan of Balraj Sahni.
But how do you prepare, when you know that you're going to have this very spontaneous scene today on a shoot? What is it that you prepare? I know that you read the lines, you prepare the script, all that. But what is it within you? How do you prepare it when you're facing the camera that day?
I hardly prepare when I'm facing the camera. I prepare when I'm not facing the camera. And I take great pride in that, and I drive everybody crazy. And that's my thing. And I'm allowed, because people say, Pagal Parsi hai, so he's allowed, he's forgiven, So what I do is I try and break down a character. I try and break down a scene, and I hope it doesn't sound like a workshop in acting. But I think, what is it that the character wants in a scene? That's all you got to prepare, and then you've got to learn your lines. Spencer Tracy said, and this has got nothing to do with acting. You learn your lines and hit your marks, So when you learn your lines and hit your marks, there's much, much more to that. Learn your lines means be prepared. Hit your marks is don't be distracted by the ABC. Constant and be focused on the essence of the scene rather than saying, Mera mark kidhar hai? Focus kahan hai? Camera kahan hai? Light kahan hai? All that should be hardwired in your DNA. And there's another little principle. Can I see everybody on screen? It's nice. I feel funny talking to myself. Let's have the multi-screen. So thanks. So when I prepare for a scene, I over prepare sometimes, just enough to hardwire it into my system that I don't have to think about the line. I don't have to think about it, and your eye gets lost because people can see in your eyes. The truth comes out. And there's a line by Bruce Lee that sticks with me. I don't fear a man who has 1,000 kicks. I fear a man who has one kick, but practices it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't want to get onto the set and say, "Mera line kya tha?" We do that because we are sometimes involved with the emotion, and you can choke up, and then there will be distractions. But by and large, if you've learned your lines and hit your marks, then you can concentrate on the soul, and the acting becomes more spontaneous simply because I know where the field is set. If I know where the field is set, or if I'm practicing in the nets only how to do a nice 4, middling the bat, that's not good enough. I must know where the players are to hit a 4. I can't hit a great shot and it goes straight to the player. So while I'm looking there, I know the players are here, here, and here. I have to pierce the field only then. So knowing your lines and rehearsing it and hardwiring it into your system. And this has got nothing to do with acting alone. It's got to do with what you do, and what you do. Everybody. You go to a meeting or you go to a presentation, if you know it like that, it's a performance at the end of the day. If you're making a presentation, it's a performance. So you don't have to do that. You're just saying it and you just flick your finger because you've rehearsed it 1,000 times. Am I preaching too much?
No, lovely. I want to ask you, Boman, having...
I don't know if it makes any sense, Shivi, when I'm talking about...
It does.
Yeah. Okay.
But one of the questions which has actually intrigued me also is the fact that you're really not from the Bollywood industry. You're right. Someone, who's had a very... How was it to sort of adapt oneself to this industry, because people haven't really, most people in the panel have seen, again, I'm saying your really commercial side of the films. But how was it to work in the Bollywood system?
First of all, when I did my first commercial film, Munna Bhai MBBS, honestly, I was accepted with open arms. People were respectful. People would be kind. They would acknowledge your talent. But it was up to me to be respectful of Bollywood. I think you should look at it the other way around. Bollywood has much to offer. There's much to sit and say the bad things about it also. But there's good and bad in every industry. You know what I'm saying? So when I got into Bollywood, the thing is, oh, what is this? And this is loud and this is... No. You've got into this industry. Stop. If you want to reinvent the wheel, you do it on your dime. Right. Do it on your time. Do it on your money. But when there is a certain ethos of a certain film, you go with that ethos. Don't say, no. You've accepted it. And then you go in with conviction. You look at Mr. Bachchan, all right? You look at Mr. Bachchan. He just goes for it, man. He doesn't think, the conviction with which he does what he does. Yeah. I mean, at 70, whatever, he's sitting and suddenly he's dancing in the heat. And I say, man, what conviction? You got to do it with conviction. The thing was, everybody initially may have thought that I came from English theatre, Parsi background. My breakthrough film was a art house ka baap art house film called Let's Talk. I don't know if you've seen it, Shivi. It's like art house, the festivals and people are putting, 17 layers into it and we are talking intellectual. Boss, you put that aside. You've joined Bollywood. You're doing Let's Talk. Now you're doing Houseful. You've taken money for Houseful. Go with that ethos. Respect that ethos or don't do it. And don't frown upon it. The moment it's about conviction at the end of the day. I have a great time. And I'll tell you one more thing, Shivi. I'll tell you one more thing. Houseful, Happy New Year is not designed for me. It's designed for a very different audience. It's not designed for the Let's Talk audience. It's not even designed for a Well Done Abba audience or even a Khosla audience. It's designed for an audience that pulls rickshaws. You've got to respect that audience. And you can't say that we'll only do meaningful work and say, we have become too meaningful. हम बच्चे थे जब हमको समझ में नहीं आता था कुछ भी, तो हम कोई भी पिक्चर देख के हम खुश हो जाते थे ना. अब क्या बूढ़े हो गए तो बूढ़े नहीं, who said बूढ़ा, बड़े हो गए, उसका मतलब है हम intelligent हो गए. No, the intelligence is to understand that audience. You're designing it for that audience, and I go for it, man. I go for it, and I love it. I love to see when a man on the streets, अरे household में बहुत मजा आया, बहुत खुश हो गया, पूरी family के साथ 5 बार देखा मैं. We've done our job, man. If you want to make the kind of movie you want to make it on your own dime and your own time. Simple.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think it's a lovely thing what you said about Mr. Bachchan because it's just amazing. I just want to add one line about him. He gets COVID. He goes to hospital. He's back out of COVID, with most people would have said, I want to give up. He sends me a mail, Shivin, I'm very, very busy now for the next thing. I'm doing this, that. I said, nothing can stop him. Nothing. And at the age of 76 now, he is still working every day. And I know how much Boman loves him. And so coming to that question, Boman, you remember that launch of your production house when I was over there, the wonderful logo which we spoke about. And you guys have to see Boman's logo of the production house. It's so beautiful. But Boman, your desire to finally, somewhere, because you are an artist, you are someone who likes to direct and things. So you've written a script. You got one of the greatest script writers in Hollywood to come down and do a workshop. I want to talk a little bit as we end about your efforts of doing script writing lessons, bringing a script writer here, writing your script, and where is the production house going to head? It's something which I would like to end with.
Shivi, I wrote my, over the years, I used to contribute, whether I was improvising or whether I was saying, how about this and how about that, and writing scenes and, helping people while the movies that I've been in with their scripts, because I think I do have an innate understanding of narration. So I wrote a script. I had a lovely idea and I wrote it over 120 pages. And then I read it and I said, this is the best script I've ever read. Then I woke up in the morning next day and I read it again. Okay? And I said, this is the worst script I've ever read. All right? And I'm saying to myself, why? While every scene that I'd read, I would feel, guys, whoever's on tech, just keep it with this screen so I can see Surendra, Sai, and I can see Yash, and I can see Rohit and Prashanth and Jyoti. Let's keep it like this. So I just feel, suddenly when I come alone, I said, I hope I'm not losing my mind, So anyway, so I woke up in the morning and I said, the scenes are beautiful. They're so beautiful. The concept is beautiful, but the overall, I'm not holding it together. So I said, let me become a student. So I went to New York and I met a playwright. And I said, will you help me with the script? He said, yeah. I said, will you teach me? He said, done. And he heard my story and he loved the story. And he said something to me that stuck in my head. He said, your film is a whole bunch of pearls, but you're handing it to the audience like that. They'll all fall down. What you need is the science to make a lovely string and put the pearls in the string and give the audience a necklace. That's the technique. You have no technique. You only have heart. I said, this makes sense. So he started teaching me. And I started going to New York twice or thrice and doing workshops. And I would stand, wait for him. I had to ambush him, literally. And I would sit with him in the club and we would do some work. And he said, this has to do, no, this is wrong. Structurally, this is wrong. And I started understanding structure. I was understanding theme. I understand character development, whatever. And I used to go walk home from the club every day, smiling like that. Alone, huh? I'm just smiling. And people say, what's wrong with that guy? He's smiling. Because I've learned something. And I would go home and I would make notes of all that something. This happened for 7 years. I may not be the good screenwriter, but I went the long route. Long route is always the better route. The foundation has to be strong. And then when the lockdown happened, when Mr. Bachchan was invited for the company launch, Irani movie tone, I said, let's not have a party. Let's have a bigger celebration by having a writer's workshop. And that's when I met Shivi again. And I said, Shivi, I want Mr. Bachchan to come for 15 minutes. Just call him up. He'll come. I said, done. Mr. B, will you come? Of course. Done. Okay. Okay. Ho gaya. And I said, I call this guy. That playwright ends up winning an Oscar. Okay. So I'm saying, my guru is an Oscar winner. So I flew him down. Instead of wasting money on a party, I didn't waste that money. I spent that money on somebody who would come and change the way our writers are thinking. Because we are rich in stories today where we don't have technique to string it together. And I used to feel when I'm smiling, why should I smile by myself? So now during this lockdown, every day, Shivi, every day, a 2-hour session I conduct every morning. And we've done 140 sessions in this lockdown. 140 sessions on screenwriting. Because I feel if you get the screenwriting right, and this has got nothing to do with screenwriting alone. In your business, understand what is the most important thing and call it screenwriting. And spend most time on that. And you see how your foundation, if it's strong, everything will work better. It's like saying one famous director called Billy Wilder. Some of you may have heard of him. He said, everybody says director hai. He is a director. Where does he direct from? Is he reading out of a phone book? No. He's reading out of a script. And that's the power of storytelling, the writing. And I feel that to make a change in the industry today, that I'm not here to teach anyone anything, but the point is that if we must make films that are internationally recognized, we have to have a science at least to make that string to tell our story. So that was the long and the short of it.
Is there a role which you really want to do still, or you want a character you want to play which you haven't had the opportunity to play?
Shivi, I find that difficult to answer. I'll tell you why. If I loved a role, say Irfan played that role. Why did I love it? Because Irfan played it well. Why did I love it? Because Jack Nicholson played it well. What am I going to do with it? Who am I to improve upon something that's already good? And the reason why I loved it was because it was good. I think it's important to take something and make it your own. And roles, they can be written, but you can make it your own. Yeah. I think you must make it that, nobody else could have played it. Irfan did Pan Singh Tomar. Unbelievable. I wouldn't be able to do it. But even if I could, he already did it and did it so well. So whatever you do, you should make it your own, and make it that someone else will say, I love that role, but it's not mine. It's this guy's. It's his own. So I don't have a role that, and I've got another thing. I may sound like someone who's trying to be a good guy here, but I don't think acting should be the reason why people should go and watch movies. Acting is just one of the stepping stones to watch a great story. I think a story is why people go to watch movies, not just to see one performance. If the performance is great and the story is not good, I'm not interested in that performance, nor am I interested in the character. So I might get a wonderful role, but if the movie is not good, what's the point of doing that movie or that role? I like to do a blind man's role. Yeah, okay. But it's a terrible movie. It's the movie. It's the movie. One second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Boman, thanks a lot. I'm going to ask Yash Nathani he has a lot of questions from the audience. and Yash is on your screen, and Yash is going to ask you all the audience questions. Over to you, Yash.
Thank you. Boman, you've been fabulous. We've been having a great time. We didn't want it to stop and go to questions at all. But since you spoke of cricket in the middle, we are going to throw you a googly. The googly is, you need to ask Shivi a question.
Oh, me? Oh, really? Oh, me?
So that's one of the requests we've received.
I think it's about Boman, not me today, you know.
Well,
No, don't squeeze out from that one.
Yeah.
We'll ask him a question. Let me think for a nice googly one. No, that's not a googly for me. We'll make it a googly for him.
Absolutely. So now another question that we have from somebody on YouTube is, which actor, Bollywood or Hollywood, would you want to work with who you haven't worked with till date?
I've worked with almost everyone. I've been very lucky. Yeah, I've worked with almost everyone. Hollywood, yeah, I would love to have worked with someone like Jack Nicholson. I'd love to have worked with a actor called Sidney Poitier.
Oh, okay.
I just love Sidney Poitier. I love. Yeah, that's about it. In Bollywood, for Mr. Bachchan, I would have loved to have acted with. I'm going to say something. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie, but yesterday his daughter called me. His daughter, she's doing a little book on him. Very, very famous character actor. One of the first big character actors of the 40s and 50s. I don't know if you've seen Mother India. Yeah. Have you all seen? It's an Oscar-nominated film, man. And there's this character who plays. His name is Kanhaiya Lal.
Oh, Kanhaiya, his daughter.
His daughter called me and they want you to talk about my dad in this book. I said, sure, man. And I started rattling off things. And she was in tears. And I think he was an outstanding actor.
Very good actor.
You know what happened to Kanhaiya Lal? There was a film called Aurat, which was the city version of Mother India. Nargis Ji, Sunil Dutt, the great Mother India. And he played a similar character. So at the premiere of Mother India, when they came out, all the women went to beat him up. On the red carpet. And Nargis Ji is stopping him and stopping them. What are you doing? Why are you beating this man? He's just playing. No, ye aadmi aisa hi hai. औरत पिक्चर में भी उन्होंने ऐसा ही किया था औरत को. And I say, that's conviction, man. You make people believe that you are really that bad. I feel that's such an inspiration for actors, to make people believe that you can't be a nice guy. You can't. It's so good. So who else would I have liked to have acted in? Shah Rukh Khan. Maybe, strangely, yeah, I did with Ranbir also. I did a special appearance. I like Ranbir very much as an actor. I just acted with Ranveer Singh, 2 films, one after the other. But I really think Ranbir is an unbelievably wonderful actor. Good actor. Star and all different, but actor. Nasir I've worked with, Anupam Saab, Om Puri Saab. Missed working with Amrish Ji. He was quite something, huh? Mr. Amrish Puri. Yeah. But they all were very kind to me. Mr. Kher, Om Puri, Nasiruddin Shah, Paresh Rawal. They all took me aside, gave me such wonderful advice. More or less, tell the same things. Don't get stereotyped. Don't tell them that this is what you do. Go and do. Choose your roles. Don't worry about losing out on certain roles. You'll have a long, long career. All of them were so kind to me, and I'm ever so grateful to them. Okay, now we have to do Shivi a question. Shivi, I want to ask you a question. If you had to cast for a role, and I was very keen to do it, but there's another actor who you prefer, and not keen to do it, would you chase that actor or would you take me in that film?
Well,
जो बोला ना, all in fall in the well हो गया यार तू.
No. I would chase that actor.
Very good. Okay, मैं चलता हूँ. आप लोग अब ये सेमिनार हो गया, पूरा इंसल्ट हो गया. चलो bye bye everybody. Correct.
But you would do the same. You would do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Not somebody who's saying मुझे. But then again, sometimes who is the hungrier of the two? That's also plays.
Yeah.
Who's the hungrier of the two? You may chase the guy, but if he's not hungry, then don't go for it. Go for the hungrier guy.
Yeah. I agree.
It's like Anupam Kher. It's like Anupam Kher in Saransh. He worked, and then they said, no, we want to take Sanjeev Kumar. And he lost his head. And he just choked and he told Mahesh Bhatt, you're doing wrong. And Mahesh Bhatt said, this is what I want. This is what I want. Oh my God, the anger and the anguish. Just put this on screen for me.
Yeah.
Who's the hungrier?
Yeah. And no, I have a wonderful story.
I'm hungry, Shivi. Take me, na.
And I must tell you, having said that, I'll tell you an interesting story which Gulzar Saab told me. When he was making Mirza Ghalib, in the 80s, Nasir wrote to him from NSD saying the actor you're casting is you're making a big mistake. Is Sanjeev Kumar. He doesn't know ABCD of Urdu, and Gulzar Saab and you're making a big mistake. The only one who can do that role is me. And you believe it? 15 years or 16 years later,
came to pass.
Yeah, and Nasir was casted for Mirza Ghalib. And the same thing was with Dutt Saab, that he went to Mehboob. He cut his hair for the role of Mother India.
Birju.
Yes. So he went to the barber outside. He cut his hair. He did all that makeup and everything, and he came convincing Mehboob Saab that you please cast me for the role.
Like Balraji with Bimalda.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is hungry? Hungry people who are hungry are the ones who are going to deliver, man.
Yeah.
So I'm hungry, man. Shivi.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm ready with you. Okay. Yeah.
We move on to the next question from Gopal Krishna. Is there any particular kind of movie that you would like to do going ahead? Maybe something which you haven't had a chance to do up till now.
I think movies that inspire people, and there are 7 stories, they say. There are only 7 stories. Every other story has been told. And if there are 7 stories, it's just how you tell that story differently. So at the end of the day, I would like to do a movie that inspires people. And I always say this line, it should be about the triumph of the human spirit. And I feel that's very important. People need to feel that there's much more to them than what they consider ordinary lives. Nobody's life is ordinary. So I love to do films which have got. I don't know if I'd be happy doing a scary film, a horror film. I don't know. I can't. Because I scare easily. I go like that myself. I'm not anymore. I can't watch those kind of films, unfortunately. I don't like too much of violence. I like action though. But movies that about relationships, love, and forgiveness, I think, are the kind of movies I'd like to work with.
That's lovely. Now, so we have a question from Shraddha Agarwal. She's a huge fan. How are you able to enact the nuances of negative roles as convincingly as your positive ones?
I think there was something I'd learned. I do a lot of workshops, I just go and do workshops. And there was one very simple thing an actor taught me in the workshop. Not very long ago, I'd gone to a film festival. I went and attended the workshop. And he says that nobody's perfect in this world. Nobody's perfect. And if you want to really make a character that's believable, make him imperfect. And so if I'm playing a good guy, I would always search for the bad side in him. If I'm playing a bad guy, I'll always search for something that could be kind, a touch, a little touch of humanity, and he'll be believable. So if I'm playing a funny guy, I'll always find a part where that funny man feels a little bit of sadness. And if I'm playing a serious guy, on one fine day, if that serious guy shows me a little bit of humor and affords a smile, it becomes that much more believable. And that's all of us in real life. If you're sad, ye bahut sad aadmi hai, to aise hi betega pura picture. No, you can't do that, because then he becomes one-dimensional. And then if he's a funny guy, ha, 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 enough, man, take it easy, yeah. Take it easy. You have problems too, and everybody should have. And as I said earlier, comedy comes from pain and problems. Everything comes from conflict. Everything. So if you must always surprise. There are lots of actors who turn around and say, "My character would never do that." Who told you? I learned at the institute. I said, "Okay, take it easy." He just did that. He did it now. What are you going to do about it? You have to surprise people. If you say, "Yeah, आदमी बहुत दयालु है, बहुत, my God, he's beating up somebody on the road." Why? Because he kicked his dog. You understand? So that character becomes that much more believable. He flipped out. You made a dayalu guy flip out. That's the way I approach my characters.
Lovely. The president of the club, Prashanth Kanoria, and his wife both are very, very ardent fans of you and all your movies. And Prashanth has been longing to ask a question from a long time. From the time we fixed up the event, he said, I have a question. So I said, yes, of course. You're the man of honor. Sorry?
Are we charging him for the question? As the president, you should.
We would love to do that.
Fix the price.
The charge would be a dinner at the club, hosted by him.
You're most welcome. We would love to have you at the club. Yeah. So, first of all, thank
Chale gaye. He left the building. Elvis has left the building.
We'll get him back. Probably his connection is poor. We have another important committee member of the overall committee is Rohit Bihani. He's also on the screen with us. He's a great music lover. He himself is an encyclopedia on movies. So he has a question for you as well, Boman sir.
Go for it, Rohit.
So good evening, sir. It's a great pleasure talking to you here today. And you mentioned quite a few names, all of whom I'm also a fan of, starting from Balraj and Anupam Kher, Amrish Puri. And I think in the same league, probably we can take the name of Pran Sahab. Yeah, the roles he has done. And since you mentioned conviction in roles, I think the kind of diversity he has brought in his roles is unique. And, I see a lot of similarity in all your roles because each role is so significantly different one from the other. And the way you modulate your voice from one character to the other, I think there is a lot of work that you individually put into your roles which doesn't come exactly from the script. How do you do that?
I think people confuse rehearsal, and there's rehearsal which you do on your own. Then if you're lucky with a good crew, you can rehearse with the crew, with a cast rather. And then there is what is known as reflection. And you reflect from as human beings, just as human beings reflect upon themselves, in their moments of solitude. How do you reflect upon yourself? If you're sitting in this lockdown and saying, what can I do to improve myself? And you go through a list of your faults and maybe your strengths. Similarly, while performing, while creating a character, you reflect upon the character's failings and you reflect upon the character's strengths. And from the inside, it comes outside. It cannot come from the outside. Saying, "Aise mooch lagai, aise baal banaye, aise chala." It doesn't work like that. For example, in Three Idiots, everything that he did came from the inside of his wound, or the fact that he was not a successful scientist. He was just a guy who dealt with numbers. He got stuck in time with numbers. So his pant also was the same pant cut that he wore 40 years ago. His hair may have been in college an afro, but it became that. He got stuck in time. So it came from the inside and went to the outside. And just as human beings, the only way that we can actually show who we are is to start from the inside. You cannot do anything from the outside. Similarly, in acting, it has to come from the inside to the outside. So I think the reflection that I was telling you about, the reflection that I was talking about, is very important rather than just reading lines. You read the lines only to say the lines better. But the reflection of who you are as a human being, if you understand that guy, what his spine is, what his heart is, what his nose is, what his kidneys are like. If you understand his insides, you've done your job. There's conviction in that. Sorry, it's a little technical, but never mind.
All your characters each character is memorable by itself. More than the film, the character stands out.
Maybe, I don't know.
Absolutely.
No.
We have Prashanth back. Prashanth, are you back with a good connection? You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, it'll sound better if you unmute. It'll sound much better.
Yeah. So, thank you. Thanks a lot, Boman, for being available to BRC. But we would have been much happier seeing you at the club,
I'm ever willing to land up. Aap bula lo, main aa jaunga. So tell me something. I just want to ask a question. Nathani, Chokhani and Bihani. Nathani may not be, but Chokhani, Bihani, there's a lot of Sindhi community also, no? In Kolkata.
No, they're all Marwadis. You'll find all Marwadis over there.
Chokhani is not Sindhi.
No.
There are a lot ending with I, right? Even I am A and I, so I can be co-opted, as a. No, he's not saying anything. He's saying dinner pe aao, bahut ho gaya bhai. Dinner kha ke chale ja. Membership ka dhan mat dena. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Besides your own hard work, who would you credit for supporting you in the industry?
Actually, almost everyone in many ways, almost everyone. I have troubled my directors like mad. And I trouble them like crazy. I call up at 4 in.the morning sometimes. This line is not working. How is this line? One day the director said, tu karna, upar niche karna, yaar. But that's support. That's support at the end of the day. Raju has been a huge support. Shahrukh has been a huge support. He's a huge support in many ways. His kindness, even being around Mr. Bachchan. Just think about it. Shivi called and said, Shivi, should I call Mr. Bachchan? Saying, yeah, of course, call Mr. Bachchan. I went home, I think, the same day when I met you at the dubbing studio, Shivi. And I called her, saying, I'm shooting in Kanpur. Just say the date, I'll be there. What more do you want? What more do you want? And he'll be there, bang on time. He'll walk in, bang on time. And he was, I think everyone who works with you, they support you in some form or the other. And I'll tell you something. It's got to do with cameramen also. It's got to do with the light guys also. And sorry, it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. There are times that a guy stands with a thermocol reflector in front of you, right? Putting light on your face. He's supporting you. If he's not interested in you and he just finds you and you've not been kind, he'll look the other way and he's saying, yeah, this is a job and I just hold that reflector. But if he's looking at you and he's fixing the light on your face, we are supporting each other in many ways. But my mother has been a huge influence in my life, I have to tell you. She recognized when I was in school, that I was dyslexic. I still am dyscalculic. I don't understand numbers very well. So my maths results used to be terrible. My science results used to be terrible. I had learning disabilities. And she realized that my strength and my confidence came on stage when I was performing. I was a different person when I was on stage, and I was a different person when I was off it. And she encouraged me because she saw my confidence grow when I was to be on stage, or I used to sing or whatever. And she encouraged me to see movies. Now, for a widow, my father died before I was born. I told you when we started the whole conversation, my father died in May of 1959. I was born in December of 1959. I was born posthumously. And my mother brought me up. And by the time I was 5 or 6, this is a very nervous child. You know, I'm surrounded by women because there were no men in our family. I was always protected. I was mollycoddled. I had a speech defect. I used to stammer, and I had to live. I talked like that, and I had confidence issues. So she saw the confidence in me when I was at the movies, on the stage, performing. Even at home while performing, I would be a different animal. And after that, I would be nervous. All right. So she saw that. She used to send me to watch movies. Go watch it again. I had a cinema across my house. It was called the Alexander Cinema. And she said, "You watched the movie today?" I said, "No." "Why?" Saying, "I watched it yesterday." "Which movie?" I said, "Pyasa." "Go watch it again. Go watch it. It's a good movie. You'll understand what good acting is, what good poetry is, what good cinematography is, what music is. Go watch it." We didn't have YouTube, right? So go and see it. It cost 1 rupee 25 paisa. Go watch. And I think she made me feel confident every time I'd go on stage, you know. And this is the power of encouraging people. We gain a lot of knowledge, but we don't encourage people to use it well. And that's the important thing. So every time I'd go on stage, she would bless me, and she would say, "Sparkle." She would say that. She said it today. When I come here to do this chat, what's so difficult in this? No, it's important. You got to give your best with the best energy and the best vibration. And she'll say, "Sparkle, sparkle." And you feel, you know, it's your responsibility to sparkle. And it's important to encourage people to sparkle. I think that's been a great help. My wife too is a wonderful critic. She's never been rude to me about my performances or been hard on me. But I know when she said, "Oh, this was okay. This is very good." Once I got nominated for an award for a film that she thought I was pretty bad. Okay. So I got nominated. "You got nominated for that film?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." Then the show was in London. So, "You're going?" I said, "Yeah, why not? What if you get it then?" I said, "I'll go and receive it." "How will you receive an award for that? It was not so good." I think you need honest people around you. And I think that is also a support system. I truly believe that. So I think my wife and my mother have been great support systems. Great support systems.
Lovely. We have another question from Rishi Chokhani. Which one was a more difficult role? Virus in Three Idiots or Mamu in Munna Bhai?
I think, you know, मैं हमेशा complicated answer देता हूँ. सुन लो यार, Chokhani साहब. I think every role should be made difficult. If it's easy, something's wrong. If it's easy, that's you're in a comfort zone. Make it difficult. Make it a little more complex. But on the face of it, Mamu was difficult because it was my first Hindi-speaking film. And I'm working with Sunil Dutt Saab. Hell, man. So that was it. There was another kind of fear. But Three Idiots was difficult simply because I had to be वो क्या बोलता है ना, वो मुंह ऐसे बना के घूमो, ऐसा मुंह नहीं बना सकते. वो अंदर से, as I said, no, inside to outside, You have to feel miserable from morning to night. Oh, to hi wo muh aata hai aisa. So the inside to outside. So it was really my I used to feel so miserable at the end of the end of the day. I used to come to the room and say, "Yeah, kya hai khane mein?" You know, it's just emotionally draining to be unhappy like that stupid guy in Three Idiots. So both are difficult, and everything should be difficult. You should not make it easy. Walk in the park nahi hai acting. It's not a walk in the park. Complicate it for yourself.
Right. The next question is from Raghav Mal, who's also a member of the entertainment committee. Are you planning to rock the web series too? Wow.
Sure. I mean, not rock, no, but do any, whether it's on the stage, whether it's on the web series, whether it's eventually, or whether it's an ad film. It's a role, it's a character. You just do your best. I don't know if I can rock anything anymore, you know, but you should enjoy it. I love to go on a set. I love to go on a set. So that's my way of rocking myself. I don't, you know.
Our next question is from from Vikram Baid. Does he still find time to pursue his old passion for photography? He has officially covered World Cup boxing in Mumbai in his early days. It's quite a story as well. So do you still find time for photography?
No, Vikram, no. But the photography helps me when I'm working. I understand lenses a little better. I understand lighting a little better. And this World Cup boxing was the first thing that made me some money. And then I went on to shoot Miss India, and the first Miss India that I shot, then went on to Miss World. So the portfolio that I shot, and so photography is now part and parcel of my life. But no, when I'm on a set, people say carry a camera with you, and I find that beimani, you know, because if I'm sitting and doing photography while I'm supposed to be in character, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So you got to choose whether you want to be an actor on the set or want to be a hobby photographer on the set. So I just find it very difficult to take a camera on this. I've tried, and towards the end of a schedule, but in the beginning, I'm not the easiest person to be around. So I can't carry a camera on the set somehow. You know what I mean. You know, if you're in character, you can't be walking around. You're wearing a pagdi and you're wearing a kurta and a dhoti and you're walking around the camera. This just doesn't sound right. You know, imagine virus walking around the camera like that. It doesn't work. It just feels wrong. It feels beiman.
True. So we have a question from the chairman of our entertainment committee, Surendra Bagri. He had a question which he's thought of from a long time, and now is his opportunity.
Why are you laughing? I can't think.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. No, because I'll tell you why. Because I don't know whether my answers are the expected answers. I'm giving some very guma ke answers.
No, they are extremely enlightening answers, I think, and so it's really enjoyable. It gives a totally new version to everything. So we would like to know, you've been acting in theater for a long time, so that has been the beginning. How much of this experience in theater really, how much of value does it add to your acting in films?
Everything, from A to Z, whatever I've learned in theater has been my strength in films. From the time you start, punctuality. Show will start at 7 o'clock. You can't say, I'm coming in my own sweet time. So there's a sense of discipline that works in to the rehearsal process. And I think that process drives me crazy when people say, let's do a lines rehearsal on the set. I find that very difficult. So whenever I try, let's do a table reading. Let's do a reading a few days before. Let's meet. I think the theater discipline has taught me how to graph a character from here on the screen, from here to here, right? In cinema, you'll start shooting maybe the second last scene of the movie on day one. How do you graph it? But if you've graphed it because you're a theater actor, you know how to hit those notes correctly. You might shoot the opening sequence on the last day of schedule. So that freshness to that character you're going to bring on the last day. But if you have done theater, you know how to graph it. Theater helps in a big way. Plus, there's one more added thing to theatre. I just feel, look at all the great, not me, please, I'm saying this humbly, but Nasir bhai, Irfan, Anup Kher Sahab, Paresh bhai, all of them, theatre artists, they'll work forever and ever. Ever and ever. And even if their movies don't do well, it doesn't matter. Because they'll be required to do a professional, they'll be working actors all their lives. Stardom is not dependent on you. Stardom is dependent on the public. They will make you, they'll say, I like him, today I don't like him. I don't know why. But if you're a competent performer, you'll get work all your life. And that's what craft does.
Great. Thank you.
Should we go for the last two questions now? Because kahin Boman sir may ask for more, then what he's been promised.
Ek extra dessert lunga, yaar. Kyun baba, tension.
All right. So we have a question from Abhay Somani. How difficult is it to live a character for the films for some time and then come back to your own self?
Wow.
Nice
I think this is a story about everyone. Achha, I just like to say something. Whatever I said has got nothing to do with only acting and theatre. It's got to do with everybody over here. Because we are all acting. You, for example, asking me questions. When you talk to your brother or your wife, you won't ask them questions the way you're asking me questions now. There's a different tonality to which you're approaching there is a professional yash, there's a home yash. And it's very important to switch off. Sometimes when you go to the office and everybody's, treating you with a certain amount of yes sir, no sir, when you go home, you may not get the yes sir, no sir. You know what I mean? Maybe you, not me. When I go home, my wife says the dinner's on the table, go and eat it. I'm joking. That's not the point. The point is, we are, as Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and each man plays a part, but many different parts. So when you do a role, and I learned this in theatre, I used to do a role called I'm Not Bajirao. I used to play an old man, 75-year-old Parsi gentleman. And we used to get standing ovations every single time. Standing ovations. I'm not joking. And I used to come out of that stage, I used to walk and I used to feel, man, I'm great. It's like at the office, if you're a superstar at the office, you're just superstar in the office. When you go to meet your friends, they don't think you're as great as what your juniors may think of you. Remember that. So I used to feel so great. Then once I went out from the theater and I went to my scooter and one guy started yelling, I want to tell him, hey guy, inside you're giving me a standing ovation. Don't yell at me, man. You know what I mean? That's stardom. Don't confuse it with real life. Yeah. So I was doing this thing and I got caught up and I went to Sudhir Joshi, a Marathi stage actor. When I told him, Sudhir, I don't know, I can't come out of this character. He says, you know why you can't come out of this character? So not because you're habituated to speak like him, because you find pleasure from the adulation when you do it. You find people are clapping for you. You find people are clapping for you. You feel that when you keep being that way, people will continue to clap for you. It's like opium. Fame is like opium. Same with everybody else's life. Saying, I'll give you a technique how to step out of character. So he said this. He pointed, we were sitting in front of a mirror. He was sitting next to me, sitting in the mirror. Saying, what is that? I said, Pond's cold cream. Saying, lege aao. So I took the Pond's cold cream. Saying, take little. Put here, 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 here. So I had 5 dots on my face. White dots. Now rub it. Abhi ghar ja. He's saying, abhi ghar ja, ho gaya. Makeup utar gaya. Khatam. So office का मेकअप अलग होता है, फ्रेंड्स के साथ मेकअप अलग होता है, वो मेकअप बच्चों के साथ मेकअप अलग होता है, माँ बाप के साथ मेकअप अलग होता है, and you're playing different parts. I think it's very important, because if you say office, people say sir, sir, sir. हर जगह sir, sir, sir नहीं मिलेगा. Same thing by playing a role.
Lovely. We have a question from Munish Jajaria. He says, Boman, you're a favorite of all ages. You know, you're a favorite across the age banner. So how do you manage to appeal to all audiences, and what's your take on age? I mean, when you act, do you act for a particular age, or what is it that you look for?
I think this is a very cliched line. Age is but a number. Yeah, maybe true. But if you're 60 and you think you're running around like a 25-year-old, it's not going to happen, right? But and if you're 60 and you think that you can do the things you were when you were 30, not going to happen, right? But I feel that if you plan, I have a trick. It's a technique that I always plan to do something exciting 3 to 6 months ahead. Like I told you in the beginning, my characters and life should be chasing your happiness, chasing your bliss. So I always like to look forward to something. So when we talk about all my movies, believe me, I haven't seen any of these movies in the last 15 years. Because it's done. It's done. Because if you sit and bask in that, then you're getting stuck there. You get stuck there. I don't know if I mentioned it now. I mentioned in the other thing that I did a little earlier. When you're stuck there, you're not stuck there. The world is moving ahead. You are moving backwards if you get stuck there. So I do believe that you've got to think forward. When I started learning how to do writing, I think I was moving forward. Otherwise, I would have been stuck there. So my age has got to do with thinking forward. And I have a problem with people who say, you want to be a director at 60? Yeah, who made the rules? You made the rules? You tell me, I'll apologize to you. You catch me the guy who made the rules, say, I can't be a director at 60. I can't make a debut as a director, be a debutant director as a grandfather. I will. Or I'll try to at least. So that way, age is then just a number. But otherwise, there are many things I can't do what I did when I was 25. I can't. So let's face that. But I can think forward at whatever age I want. Whatever age I want.
That's lovely.
Okay.
I think we have one last question, which is from an ex-president of the club and somebody who's also a comedian, for all of us. So Balraj was your inspiration. Who or what gives you perspiration?
My wife.
We have to give us something more interesting.
अरे तुम लोग मुझे फंसा के रखोगे यार. Sorry. नहीं. Sorry.
That's lovely. I think we've had a wonderful session. We've been there for 1 hour 20 minutes, though we were given only an hour. So I think I'm going to hand it to Jyoti now to just thank Boman Shivendra for this wonderful event. Jyoti, you're on mute.
Yes, it's difficult to say after Boman sir. Like, it has been so interesting. Everybody was endorsed in your talk. And so thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for this wonderful webinar with the more wonderful person, Mr. Boman Irani. And secondly, I would like to add something. Like, when I had first spoken to Mr. Boman Irani, his only condition was that there would be no thank you speech. And if at all there is a thank you speech or introduction, that's just one line. It should not go beyond. So I guess it says about him as a person, how modest and humble he is. So a big thank you, sir, for joining us, taking out your valuable time and spending your evening with us in BRC. And we do look forward that, as our president has said, to host you in club physically also. And that's also soon. And I would like to thank Shivendra for hosting this event again. And
I did too much.
he was in Kolkata today. He just flew down, took a long flight to be with us, and also like to thank the audience for joining us, and hope to see them again soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Personally,
Boman.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being so kind and generous with your words. But a special thanks to Shivinder.
Yes.
I'll say that I look up to you, Shivinder, and I think that you showed a lot of humility in conducting this thing. I'll tell you why. Because someone should be conducting a session with you. And yeah, no, I mean this because you're such a humble man, and you didn't have to do this, but you did it because you are humble, and that's very 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 gracious of you, and we have to acknowledge that. So
No,
thank you, Shivinder. On behalf of my new club, I'm getting membership and all that. On behalf of my other club member, I want to thank you for being so wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello?